we were chatting the other day about some of the early performance stuff that I did when I was after my mum died, and I was
Yeah.
saying about that story about how when my mum, when I was like home caring for my mother, and things were really difficult in the house. Um, there was a lot of spiky atmosphere. Um, my I don't think my dad was too crazy about the fact that I was doing most of the caring for my mum, even though he physically wouldn't have been able to do the same things that I was doing. But
Mm.
things were not great. There was a lot of angst with my mum and dad. There was a lot of angst with me and dad. Although my mum and I were close, there was a lot of angst there because we couldn't hide how we were feeling about what was a difficult situation. So there was a lot of stuff going on. And I remember saying about this experience once when I got so churned up about the way things were going. And my mom, who normally was trying to kind of keep some element of fight, generally saw me as the person that helped her feel able to fight. She saw me much more than I realized as her rock in a way. And we had this one particular day when she was just kind of like losing it. And she just, a couple of things had happened that week that had just knocked her confidence and just taken the fight right out of her. And I kind of at that moment really needed her strength. And so I kind of lost it. And I was just running on empty. And I was screaming at her and even poking her. And it was horrendous. And I remember going to her about a week later, or it might even have been a few days later. I mean, at the time, it kind of like glossed over and we kind of got on with things. But that argument in particularly stayed with me. And we were talking, and say it was however many days later, I said about that big row we had. I know we've had rows before, and I know it's a frustrating situation. And I know that you know that it's frustrating for me, and you say so. But that was more than just frustration. I said, that was spite, that was meanness. And I said to
Mm.
her, I think I am really becoming a nasty person because that's how I felt inside. And she just looked at me for the longest time and then said, you are one of the gentlest men on the planet.
Mm.
And I just, irrespective of how true my gentleness is, the fact
Yes,
that she saw that in me
of
at a
course.
time when all I could see was like jaggedness. Um, that
Because of
was,
one small little
yeah,
outburst.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was the thing that she saw, that was who she saw. I mean,
Mhm.
her version of who she saw was incredible because at the
Mm.
time, all I felt all the time was this jagged anger. I mean, when
Sure.
I went out for walks, I would feel, I would sometimes look at the traffic on the road and I'd want somebody on the pavement to stop or one of the cars to stop and just kind of like someone to get out and offer some kind of solution because I would be wandering around thinking I'm in this situation and I can't deal with it. And I felt churned up at times, trapped, lost.
Yeah.
And yet in the middle of that and in the middle of everything that I felt about that, what she saw was this hugely gentle person that was still her rock. And that she said about a week after that, she said, you're still what keeps me
Gentleness
going.
is strength, John.
And the thing was that we could do that for each other. So that first poem I performed at an open mic night was all about her.
Your mom, she passed 10 years
She
ago.
passed, yeah, it was quite a few years. It was over 10 years back now. Probably about
Okay.
12, 13 years back. Yeah, probably quite a while.
So when this poem came about, it was already written.
It was
Um,
written for her
right,
because she, for the first time, when we were in a position where she was needing care, and
right.
I was basically doing some of her personal care,
Hmm.
she she was feeling shabby about herself. She was feeling old for the first time ever. She never wanted to feel old, and she was feeling broken, like a broken, lost thing.
Helpless. Yeah,
And I wrote this basically as a way of saying this is who I see.
I love that.
And I even when she had a stroke about a month before she died, and she ended up in hospital. I used to go and see her in hospital, and the nurses used to clean around her and stuff.
Mm,
And they were all they were very good nurses, um, and they're all lovely people. It's just that they were so used to the effects of the stroke that they were just used to dealing with what needed to be done around it.
hmm.
So my mum, she couldn't speak, she couldn't eat properly. Most of the food fell out of her mouth because she couldn't swallow properly. And so this nurse was cleaning her up and cleaning around where she was. And I just one day just thought, I wanted to see who this woman is. So I brought this poem in that I'd written for her. And it basically was a poem that basically was trying to do, that did for my mum what she at a later date did for me when she made that comment about me. That in a
Mm,
way, sometimes in those times, you do this for each other.
yes.
And that's the best, sometimes the best kind of art and creativity we have, when sometimes in the most horrendous situations, sometimes in situations that do not feel or look anything like love or anything beautiful, we can do beautiful things for each other, and we remind each
Absolutely.
other who we see. And so I brought in this poem and I put it on the table by her bed, and I wrote at above it, "You don't know who this woman is, but this is who she is to me."
Oh,
And that was me being able to do for my mom what she did for me after that argument. And that's the thing, that you, in those relationships, you can bounce off each other and do it for each other so many times sometimes.
yes.
And as I say, sometimes in situations that do not look, they don't have to look like loving situations. Sometimes they look horrendous, but that's
Yes.
okay, because the love is in what you do in the middle of that. So this piece was the first piece I ever did at an open mic night. It was not long after my mum had died. I was crying a lot. I was crying so much it gave me stomach ache, and yet I'd told this friend I'd go along to this open mic night, so I did. And
It wasn't quite what you had
no, I
bargained
had
for.
I'd
I
seen an
remember.
open I'd seen an open mic night before, and the
Right.
one I'd seen had been a group of people in a room above a pub. So they had drinks that they ordered from the bar downstairs, but they were kind of
Off
they were in their
and
own
away
little kind
from
of
the
like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to this place, and it was like a kind of bar stroke cafe, and there
Hmm.
were people going to the bar ordering all sorts of stuff, and it was quite a long kind of place. And at one end, it was just people chatting and doing stuff. And at the other end, there was a stage and people watching. and there was a big hubbub and chat and stuff. And I thought, okay, this is quite full on. Um, and this guy got up and he read a poem, and I thought, okay, that was a very traditional poem. I can hold my own with that.
Nice.
But then
Yeah.
after he'd read the poem, he took off his jacket, and underneath was a big spangly top, and he burst into song. It went in front of me. He turned into Liza
To a
Minnelli.
musical.
Yeah. So, so I thought, oh, great. And then a couple
Right.
of guys got on with guitars, and they did like a musical comedy number.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
increasingly felt, oh, that's it. This isn't going to be great.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like increasingly felt, how am I going to deal with this? And then a singer got up, and she was the host of the evening, and she actually sang very kind of like intimate kind of songs. So I thought it's a full on cabaret night, and I'm here with like a couple of little poems I've done.
Right.
So a friend of my friend came up to us both and said, "Look, you're quite late on in the evening, so to give you some Dutch courage, why don't you come with me to this little bar around the corner?" And so we went off with him, and he
Turns out
brought.
it was a good idea. Turns
Oh
out,
yeah,
right?
well,
Get you out of the
well,
element, calm you down, right?
well, yeah, and brought me these cocktails that he swore were like the best cocktails ever. And I don't remember the name of them. I don't know what was in them.
Right, right.
All I know is that you really could fuel a space shuttle with them, because they were just like, they were like,
Every little bit helps.
I
Yeah.
had two or three of them, and I was hammered. So I went back, and I thought, I've been crying all day.
Right.
I'm still grieving. I'm now hammered, but
Aw.
you know what? It's only a few minutes now. I might as well give it a go. So I got up, and
Because at this point, you had a lot invested in this moment. You're
yeah,
already there. You're already, inside committed
yeah,
to it. And at this point, you're thinking you should be committed.
yeah. So I get up, and I think, you know what? I want to move a bit. I want to move around. So
Yeah.
I pick up the mic to hold it. And I said, okay, this piece is about, and then a couple of people yelled, "We can't hear you."
Oh
And I looked
no.
down at the mic, and it had come apart in my hands. So I was holding half of it, and the other half was still on the mic stand.
Oh
So
my
somebody
God.
kind of like ducked their way under me and
Right.
started sticking the mic together while I was standing there,
Oh
just
my
standing there
God.
like a lemon, because I can do impressions as well. But I was standing there thinking, what else could go wrong? But the thing was, that was the moment when I remembered that World According to God film, one of Robin Williams' early
Yep.
roles, where there's this scene where he and his fiancee, I think, are looking at this house that they're going to live in, and a plane crashes into it.
Presley.
And like one of them says, "Well, that's it. We can't live there." And the other one says, "No, we'll do it up. It's great. This place has been pre-mastered. Nothing can happen to us now that's worse than this." And I thought, you know
Oh,
what? That's what I need to do. I need to see this evening as being pre-disastered, because
love
let's
it.
face it,
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
can be worse. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this, because no one's got any expectations now. So I might as well just do it. And if I can only go up from here. So basically, they finished fixing the mic, I took it in my hand and I did this piece. And it was
Mm,
about my mum, and it was the one that was basically just trying to show her who I thought she was. And it goes, I saw a miracle tonight, shining out through tired eyes and a smile that can still discover distant stars, even in me. I saw a miracle, spellbound by her fragile, fearful magic into a world whose borders crumble in a chair. Every now and then she'd squeeze my fingers just to remind me that holding my hand is still the fastest way to freedom. I have watched waves, stars, and thunderclouds roll in across this shoreline, and I've seen such sunsets in her wake. But the miracles always land on her fingertips. And then this massive applause,
love it.
and girl at the
Beautiful.
back going, oh, and me thinking, oh, my luck's in. And and I get down from the, I did one other poem that wasn't nearly as good, and I've forgotten since. But basically, it flowed after that. I was feeling better, that the audience liked me. I stepped down from the stage, and a bit later, a couple of guys came up to me and said, we do an open mic night in another part of Liverpool. Could you come to ours? And that's what
Oh,
started me doing more of this. And so sometimes those moments when you think, shall I, shan't I, can I, go for it,
yes.
because you never know where it's going to lead you.